let's talk about the expectations for consumer spending with this year's Spring Festival, which high-frequency indicators are giving the clearest early signals. We saw it. So many people are traveling not only within the country, but a lot of foreign tourists are going to China this time of year.
Right. I think that this year, first of all, there are a lot of positive, I think, factors contributing to that consumption. For one, is this year's holiday lasted 9 days, which is one day more than usual in the past. And we're also forecasting a lot more, trips that are being made, 9.5 billion in the 40-day period. That's the forecast in terms of domestic trips, right? That includes people going back home and also tourism. Then I think the government has now also rolled out many policies to stimulate consumption, right? First of all, there is the 9 billion dollars actually in terms of the trading program that has been already rolled out as the first batch. Then on top of that, I think the local governments are also shelling out about 2 billion yuan, which is roughly $285 million for the local consumption stimulus, like vouchers for services or consumption goods and so on and so forth. Then, as you mentioned, there's also this international inbound tourism that is likely to see really a surge. According to the C-Trip, for example, the online trip booking platform, this year, so far in the first 2 weeks before this Spring Festival, they have already seen the booking gone up by like 3 times as much as last year. And of course, again, there are stimulus policies, right? Like the instant tax refund policy. So I think it's very likely that we're going to like to see really a lot more consumption this year, especially when it comes to tourism, entertainment, sports events, and many of these kinds of experience-related consumption.
And that's very important because China, its government has been very specific, trying to get more internal consumption going on. So let's talk a little bit more about these specific policies that China has out there. You talked about vouchers, tax breaks, subsidies, and even for such items as home appliances and electric vehicles. To what degree is that going to boost holiday spending? Are people buying these big ticket items this time of year?
Well, in general, I think this kinds of a trade-in program or consumption subsidies tend to stimulate more purchases. I think the trade-in program was very successful last year when it comes to electronics and also NEVs purchases. Now, I think there is a little bit slowdown because a lot of consumers already front-loaded their purchases last year. But that said, I think this consumption stimulus will still be helpful, right, to bring back the consumers or to stimulate more consumption when they're on the sideline or they're on the verge of the purchases. So this extra incentive, I think, will be super helpful. But I think what is even more, I think what I would look forward to is really the service consumption, because we have seen really the sort of pivot, right, for consumers once they have to purchase all these big ticket items. But what is more desirable now, right, and I would say almost insatiable sort of demand is the look for the experiences related consumption. So services comes to mind, a lot of tourism and a lot of experience related, right, entertainment, sports events, especially now that you have tourists that like to go to the south to enjoy the sunshine and the warm weather, and then you have a lot of travelers going to the north to enjoy the ice and snow world. So I think this kinds of service consumption, right, is likely to boom. Right now, I think it's about 46% per capita consumption that goes to service. And it's very likely, as I think all other countries' experience have indicated, that is really the area that we're likely to see a lot more growth.
We're going to see a lot of dining, a lot of travel, a lot of retail activity, and local governments in cities such as Beijing and Shanghai are using digital coupons and festival promotions to encourage these items. To what degree is that successful?
Well, I think it's very helpful, especially you mentioned about local governments, right? As I mentioned earlier, they have already provided a lot of vouchers for consumption, and that doesn't just cover goods, but a lot of services, like you mentioned, dining and other cultural events that could be used for this kinds of vouchers. And I think more than that, right, there are also other programs like, for example, once you make the purchases, you can enter some type of lottery by entering your invoice. And that could allow you to win, big cash prize. And also, by the way, a lot of the AI companies these days, right, when they're rolling out their new generations of models, they're also giving a lot of cash prizes, right, the red envelopes, going from a couple hundred yuan to thousands of yuan. So I think a lot of these kinds of consumption stimulus that are trying to, incentivize people to open
Sure.
their purse string and enjoy the holidays, and also enjoy that experiences related services, as well as purchasing holiday presents and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of efforts have been made, and I think it's very likely that we're likely to see this kind of consumption boom during this holiday season.
And indeed, China right now is riding this crest of success and this nationalistic pride that has really swept the country over the last decade as well. So you figure that in with the shopping as well. And these major platforms like Alibaba Group, JD.com, they are partnering up with authorities to roll out their own discounts and amplify consumption. And it's basically all kind of feeding on itself and really prompting a lot of purchasing and a lot of positive news throughout the country.
Absolutely. I think it is not one single act of promotion, right, in terms of consumption, but really a consorted efforts, I think, from businesses to the government, to the local government, and also, even just the consumers themselves. I think this new year, people are going to stabilize their expectations. They will look forward to a year that's full of vitality and dynamism. So I think the kinds of restoration of consumer expectation is also very important. And again, seeing the numbers that 9.5 billion trips are being expected, I think that is again a telling sign that people are willing to, make the trips and go around and travel. And so
Sure.
I think that is very hopeful. And again, China has been rolling out many policies, including, for example, visa-free, right, to 45 countries. And
Yes.
now with these instant tax refund policies, I think that would also attract a lot of international visitors. Not to mention, I think China's very targeted and effective, the so-called shopping in China kind of campaign that again will combine, China's high tech with this cultural legacy. I think that also become very attractive for international tourists. Not only to enjoy the experiences traveling in China, but also purchase all this high tech gears and other souvenirs to bring home.